when the idea first hit of taking it to London, that was obviously hugely exciting for the whole university, but particularly the first 15 and the coaching staff, and it has been massively exciting over the past 4 years. It's pretty much the highlight of the year. But yeah, coming to the National Stadium at Murrayfield is probably a once in a lifetime opportunity for most of the guys, definitely who are in the latter age groups of third and fourth year. So fingers crossed the first and second years can maintain to work hard and get here every year. But yeah, playing on the national pitch, especially now with such a great surface, is going to be a real treat.
When we first started down in Richmond, we didn't know where the varsity game was going. Now we have an opportunity to expose a far wider audience to the game that is university rugby, which is one of the most exciting and intense games of rugby that anybody will ever see. And we encourage everybody to come and watch and take in what will be a great spectacle in the evening.
Well, I think for guys who are thinking about coming to St Andrews, knowing that they can play at Murrayfield in a fixture as big as the varsity match, it's a big draw for new guys. And the guys who are already here, it's massive.
Very excited. I think the fixture's grown in importance over the last 4 years, and to be playing here in the home pitch in the National Stadium was an incredible honour for all of the players.
First thing when I came out of uni that my dad pointed out to me on the way to St Andrews was the stadium, saying that's Murrayfield, that's where the Scotland team plays, and I didn't even know I was going to pick up rugby at that time, but no, it's incredible.
When I was playing against Edinburgh, it was the big game of the season in the varsity, but we didn't have the game down at Richmond as they'd done for the last few years, and you certainly wouldn't have imagined playing here, although it would have been fantastic. We had some great games at Peffermill and up at University Park over the years, and I can see the appeal of bringing it to somewhere like this and getting the recognition like the Oxford and Cambridge varsity game. I think it absolutely deserves a similar recognition in playing in a national stadium like they do at Twickenham.
Yeah, it's the oldest university fixture in the world, so we predate Oxford and Cambridge probably by about 10 to 15 years. We're not 100% sure on the dates yet, but we know that we've been playing fixtures since 1858 when we were founded, and Edinburgh were founded in 1857. So, a huge amount of history and heritage between the two universities. We're both co-founders of the Scottish Rugby Union as well. And the history still plays an important part in the current crop of students at both universities, and we try and impress that to them when they first join. That it's not just about the 4 years that they're a student at St Andrews, it's about the legacy of many generations before them.
I have a number of friends from the time I was there, and I actually have a son and daughter-in-law who both played rugby for a short time at St Andrews, so you know one or two people from other areas, but you don't, there's big gaps, and it's interesting to hear the similarities, I think, behind the sort of culture that they had at the university right through from the 1940s onwards.
It was absolutely integral. In those days, I stayed in Hepburn Hall, and it was a chap called Papa Kemp, who was in the moral philosophy department, and he seemed to scan the schools for chaps who might possibly get into the first 15, and we were all plonked down in Hepburn Hall, so we wouldn't have too far to walk for training.
The opportunity to be part of a rugby club and the fellowship that derives, not only while they're at university, but more importantly for the years that come after, because that will never ever go away, and they'll have friendships throughout their whole life. So rugby is an important part of their 4 years within the university, and something they will remember forever.
It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant that we've got graduates from the 1940s, 50s all the way through to the current first 15 captain, and it's brilliant that they remember so much about their time at St Andrews. They're still in touch with their friends and their teammates, and they've got great stories about playing away games here and there across the country, matches that they won, or varying different things about the club and their time, and obviously how special they hold University Park in their heart. So that's great that we can bring them down and give them a bit of a day out, especially for the older guys who have hopefully really enjoyed themselves. And fingers crossed we can get a lot of alumni and graduates in the stand when it comes to the game.
This sort of occasion's been just something very special to myself. Like Ian, the history of it all is important to me. I'm particularly conscious now with my own children and grandchildren. They're all into sport in a big way, and while many things have changed in terms of the professionalism of the present time compared to our time, we're essentially, the same people at the same time.
Showing some of the guys round the national team changing room in there, where in the changing rooms, the Scotland team room, against every position you've got a list of all the people who've worn your jersey before you have, so all the most famous or the most capped players in your position. And I think with something like this today, it gives you a really good sense of the history of it, that there are guys from a long time ago who it's still important to them, the way they played their rugby and the part that St Andrews played in their rugby career. So to see that from, and I'm not sure I can't remember what the earliest stage was, but from the 40s right through to the 2000s, I think. It's fantastic, and it does give you a real sense of the history behind the university, the history of the game, and I think that's something that fully merits a big match on the national pitch come September time.
We're now asking a lot of our first 15 players to train regularly, obviously 2 rugby sessions a week plus any maybe individual skills that they're doing, and then with the S&C part of things, playing a game and our review and our analysis, and that's a huge time commitment, and the guys do commit the time, and which is great, but they've got their academics at the forefront of their time at St Andrews. But what we want to do is create an environment where once they're not studying or they're not in class or they don't have exams or deadlines, where they can come and use their free time and really achieve something special. And playing on this surface in the Scottish Varsity match is an achievement to be picked. It's an achievement to win, which we have done over the past 2 years, and we're going to try and do everything in our power to make sure that happens this coming year.
It's absolutely wonderful to see the way things have been going. I went across from St Andrews to Dundee, which was of course Queen's College. I went across I was teaching in St Andrews and then joined Dundee University, and University Rugby went through a pretty difficult patch in those days. Leagues came in, it was difficult to get the teams out on a Saturday. Difficult coming up into September, before when league games were being played. Games being played over Christmas and so on. And it's just wonderful to see the way University Rugby now is growing up, and particularly at St Andrews. I think what St Andrews is doing is a model for what other universities might, in Scotland at least, like to consider doing.
No, I think when I was there, and primarily played for St Andrews during my first couple of years, I think University Rugby at that stage was a totally different beast. It was, I think, as most uni rugby was, pretty sociable to say the least. But I think it's a testament to the way the game's been grown in universities and the way that St Andrews in particular are approaching the game, that there's now the call for a fixture such as this to be played at the National Stadium. So it's going to be a great occasion for the guys themselves to be able to run out the tunnel and onto the national team pitch, but also in getting a good deal of people from St Andrews present and St Andrews past to come back and watch. So it's going to be a fantastic occasion, and I know, thinking back to when I played uni rugby, you couldn't really have ever foreseen that this was going to be the level that it was going to get to, but it's a credit to everyone involved.
Yeah, it's great that we can have the women's team involved, the women's clubs. Last year we did a sevens event at half time, which was huge, but obviously that it limits as to who can be picked, and we're going to make sure that both 15s are playing on the main pitch before the first 15 of the men. And that's huge. That gives them a real focus to come to pre-season, hopefully in a little bit of shape. They've done some fitness over the summer, and it gives them a real focus to try and work to get in the team, because now at training we'll have 40 girls at training, which is brilliant, and they've got to work hard to get selected for the team in this special event.
A really big part of my university career. I think when I was at St Andrews, there wasn't really a particular pathway through various academies and professional teams and contracts. That was certainly my first year was pre-professional days, so that was the natural thing for me to do, to come and play for the university when I first got there. And it was a great rugby scene, really enjoyable to play in, and was really my first step from playing school into playing club rugby at the time. St Andrews, the first senior rugby club that I ever played for. It stood me in good stead to play there for some time before moving back to Dundee and then onto a pro career from there. So Yeah, a really big part and a really important part, and at a crucial stage for me in my rugby development.
It was a huge part. Obviously, socially, it was an enormous part, but being able to play Wednesday and Saturday, albeit I played for a club down in Edinburgh on a Saturday until fourth year, where I threw everything into playing for St Andrews, and it was absolutely a key part of my whole university life, from playing touch on the beach to your Monday night training, which was more touch pretty much, and then we played the Wednesday league, and obviously that was just tremendous. We'd pile into Marbell's as we used to use the back room there afterwards, and just absolute time of your life. You really look back, and those were some of the best days of your life playing university rugby.